Back to a new episode of Chasin 28 podcast here on pinstripeprospects.com, episode number 14, our first episode in March. So happy back with you for this new month. We're less than a month away from opening day. Hope you're all staying safe. Hope you're all wearing a mask as the Yankees have their spring training games underway. 3-1 in the first 4 games of spring. I think a lot of good things have happened for the Yankees. There's been not a lot of nitpicking to do, but it's 4 games. Why don't we nitpick? We haven't been able to do that since October, so we'll do that for a little bit. We'll talk about a little bit of tonight's game that we're recording just after the Yankees win over the Blue Jays on Wednesday. We're getting to 3 up, 3 down. That's back for the first week of the spring. We'll talk about any of the minor leaguers that have appeared in the game so far that have caught our eye up to this point. There haven't been that many, I think, largely because there's only been 7-inning games, so it's hard to get a lot of at-bats, but we'll touch on a couple of players. We'll get into the news about the AAA season, which was supposed to be April 6th was the start, but now it's pushed back to May with all the other leagues. We'll get into that. What are we watching this week? Full slate of Yankees games this week. I think Monday is the lone off day, so we'll talk about that. Play a little round-robin trivia, different format tonight, and get into our final thoughts as well. Want to remind you can tweet us on Twitter at Pinstripe Pros. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Wherever you get your podcast, just search Pinstripe Prospects. That's where you'll find Chasin 28. And wherever you get your podcast, that's where we are. Feel free to give us a rating or 5 stars, a like, whatever format it is. And you can email me too. Tell me what you think. Keeler at pinstripeprospects.com. You have any suggestions, questions, etc. You can tweet me as well at Rickeneer555. And we'll tell you about our Dugout membership program a little bit later on in the show. So my esteemed panel, back for the first show in March. James O'Connell is here. James, how you doing?
Same old Ricky. Fun watching some baseball again. So that was nice to see.
Definitely, it was very good and as I said last week, I think we're pretty spoiled as Yankee fans that we're complaining about 1 game out of the 4 not being able to be seen, or 2 out of 4 actually. But it's not the end of the world. We actually had Matthew Jarrell, one of our writers, actually who saw did the takeaways for the Orioles game on Tuesday, was actually in Sarasota for that game. So you got the firsthand sneak peek at that too. And the esteemed person who runs our social media, does a great job with it. Alexis Farinacci is here. Alexis, how you doing?
Doing good. It's good to have some baseball back. And Gary Sanchez, man, he is on a roll. He may be one of my 3-ups today.
I would hope he'd be in 3-ups today. Otherwise, I think we'd be doing a disservice to the Pinstripe Prospects Chasin 28 listeners. But we're going to get into that in a little bit. But want to touch on some serious news to get start off with. The really shocking news Wednesday afternoon before the game. The Yankees announced at about 2:30 this afternoon, 2:15, that Aaron Boone is taking an immediate medical leave of absence to receive a pacemaker. He had surgery at St. Joseph's Hospital in Tampa. As of the last update, he's staying there overnight, but is resting, recovering, is in good spirits. Aaron Boone also sent out a statement to the media. And I think Brian Cashman, and I'll have both of you touch on the news real quick. I thought Brian Cashman had a really good comment about Boone. He didn't have to be open about this. He could have easily just gone away for a little bit, but that's the kind of person he is. And all of us here at Pinstripe Prospects are hoping that Boone gets back soon, gets back in the dugout. Carlos Mendoza will manage, at least for the foreseeable future. They're hoping that it's only a couple of days. But Alexis, I'll have you start off. Just your thoughts on the shocking news about Aaron Boone today.
Yeah, definitely really shocking. My thoughts, prayers, best wishes go out to Aaron and his entire family, as well as everybody involved in the Yankees organization. Definitely kind of a scary, serious topic here. I mean, you're dealing with heart issues, and you're glad that Aaron Boone recognized his symptoms and thought to go get checked out right away, or this could have been a worse situation. My dad just had open heart surgery, so.
Yeah, Boone did have open heart surgery in 2009.
Things and issues that arise after. So, yeah, best wishes to Aaron, and you hope all is well after this pacemaker and that it functions properly.
James, what about you?
Yeah, I was stunned we heard about this, honestly. But it sounds like he's going to be okay. It sounds like the procedure went well. I was surprised that, like he said, that they were as open about it as they were. and it took, especially because it was seemingly, I guess you can never say basic when it goes with, you're talking about a heart surgery, but it kind of almost sounded like, they made it sound like it was a routine thing that he knew how to get done. So I was surprised how open they were about it, and they told us kind of everything that was going on, and just happy he's gonna be good.
Yeah, Boone says part of his statement, over the last 6 to 8 weeks, I've had mild symptoms of lightheadedness, low energy, and shortness of breath. As a result, I underwent a series of tests and examinations in New York prior to the beginning of spring training, including multiple visits with a team of heart specialists. While the heart checkup came back normal, there were indications of a low heart rate, which, after further consultations with doctors in Tampa, necessitates a pacemaker. My faith is strong. My spirits are high. I'm in a great frame of mind because I know I'm in good hands with the doctors and medical staff here at St. Joseph's Hospital. Later says, I look forward to getting back to work in the next several days, but during my short-term absence, I have complete trust that our coaches, staff, and players will continue their training and preparation at the same level as we've had and without any interruption. By the way, it was also cool that Cashman said that Boone is still conducting meetings from his, or talking to his staff from his hospital bed. I got to give him a lot of credit for that, too. That cannot be easy to do. So, again, our thoughts and prayers are with Aaron Boone. Hopefully he gets back into that dugout soon. Managing this team. Speaking of this team, I don't think we can complain a lot about him. 3-1 in the first 4 games. I don't think you'd really complain anyway if they were 0-4. It's not a big deal. These games don't count. They're less than 9 innings. But I want to focus on Wednesday night's game more specific, and obviously we'll touch on the 4 games. And I think any Yankee fan, James, that was hoping for Corey Kluber to make a good first impression, because we've seen Yankee starters not pitch well in the first inning to start off these games. Well, Corey Kluber took it to a new level, 2 very dominant innings, while a Blue Jay lineup that didn't have Springer, Bichette, and some of the big names did a really good job.
Yeah, I think he got up to 92 miles an hour, which is very encouraging, especially this early in the spring. You don't need Corey Kluber to be, topping out of 96 like he was when he was a Cy Young Award winner, but you'd like to see him in the low 90s. You don't want to see him in the upper 80s like they were kind of speculating in during his workouts. So it's good to see him be effective. You just need, I've been saying it all along, you just need one of these 2 guys to hit, meaning Kluber or Taillon. And if they both hit, then you really have arguably one of the best staffs in baseball.
Yeah, Jamison Taillon pitched on Monday against the Tigers, only threw 7 pitches. He looked really good too, but this is the first really extended game we've seen from a new Yankee acquisition. And Alexis, I thought, for one thing, what I liked what Kluber said after his start, he looked at it as a milestone for his own. I mean, this is the first time he's thrown multiple innings in a game in 2 years. So while some starters might look to just stay healthy, and I'm sure Kluber is as well, to get that milestone off his back right out of the gate had to feel good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a great outing, especially, 9 pitches his first inning. Just a really strong start for Kluber, and you have to know that he was excited coming into this spring outing, his first time in the Yankees uniform and thrown off the mound. Like you said, multiple innings for the first time in 2 years. It's a great overall start for Kluber, and you have to think he's excited to go into the rest of spring and start of the 2021 season.
First starts of the night for the spring for Giancarlo Stanton, although he did strike out twice, but he did get in his first action. Brett Gardner went 0-for-1 with a walk in his first game. But I would gotta say the star of the spring right now, and Alexis mentioned it at the top, is Gary Sanchez. Solo shot in the 5th inning to tie the game at 1. Yankees scored 3 runs in the 5th inning. And Alexis, it's not only that Sanchez is hitting the home runs, because that's what we expect. I also like that he's been very patient at the plate, too. He had that rough first at-bat Sunday against Anthony Kay, where it looked like, oh, man, here we go. Drew a walk in that first at-bat on Monday, and then ultimately led to hitting it over the batter's eye. I mean, it's maybe too early for Sanchez to get locked in, but he's looking like the old Gary Sanchez, and by old, I mean a few years ago, not the old last year Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, I think this is a start that Yankees fans wanted to see out of Gary. Yes, he's getting hot early, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a boost of confidence. We have to hope he keeps this heading into the regular season and that he doesn't start slumping once these games start counting. But you have to be excited for what you see out of Gary after the season he had last year, where people were wondering if the Yankees are even going to bring him back or if he deserved to be brought back. I think he's making a case now as to why he does deserve to be back. 2 home runs in the past 2 games. phenomenal performances out of Gary so far.
James, we want to talk about one of your favorite guys, what we talked about last year. We haven't really seen a lot of the Yankees' newest relievers, in a sense. I mean, not newest, but I mean in terms of big-time relievers, Chapman, Britton, Green, who was supposed to pitch, didn't pitch, but he's okay. Jonathan Loáisiga is going to have a big move this season into one of those late-inning roles, although they did get O'Day and Wilson, who we haven't seen yet either. Did have 2 strikeouts in the 6th. Took a lot of pitches, though. It was a kind of, I think, a good reminder of how talented he is, but I think one of the things, and you've talked about it before, still struggling to keep that pitch count down. 19 pitches in a 1-2-3 inning is outstandingly high.
Yeah, that's always kind of been an issue of his, kind of just putting people away, which is remarkable considering the arsenal he has. But I think it's important to remember never to get too high nor too low off of spring training results per se. But it is nice to see a guy contributing at that kind of level, especially when you need him to play that a crucial role for you. In terms of pure stuff, I've said it over and over. You could argue he's got the second best stuff on this team behind Garrett Cole. You really could, and it'd be a good debate because that fastball reaches triple digits, that curveball drops off the table, and he mixes in that changeup once in a while. He's got the stuff, but I'm just waiting for him to put it all together. It's like he has this. It's almost like the Yankees are waiting for it too, because he really does have just pure electric stuff.
It was around 96 miles an hour for the most part in the fastball. Got Jordan Groshans, to look at a curveball. Chris Beck to strike out, swinging on a changeup. So a good start for Loáisiga, at least in the strikeout side. Pitch is a little bit high. James, did you want to touch on Sanchez before we get into 3 up, 3 down?
Yeah, I'll kind of get into it more in 3 up and 3 down, but I just want to reiterate that it is important not to get too high nor too low on spring training results. But I'll get more into it with 3 up.
Yeah, well, a good thing to go off of as we go into this segment. I want to keep in mind when we get 3 down, that doesn't mean we're talking about how like they're terrible, they're not going to be anything. It's one of those things like we're just happy to talk about stuff. And maybe it's just players that were disappointing or players that maybe didn't play well in their first game. That does not mean they're going to suck for the entire year. That does not mean they're going to be terrible for the bulk of the season. It's just stuff that we've watched and stuff that stood out to us. So when we get to 3 down, don't take it as their player was horrible. It's just I don't think there really has been a horrible player for the most part so far. And again, it's 4 games, but I can't think of a player that right now I'm like, oh my gosh, he's having a really bad spring. And I think that's a good thing. You don't want to have a lot of players like that. So let me start with, let's start with James. James, give me a 3 up for this week.
So we were just talking about him, obviously. I'll go with Gary. This is his last go. I think everyone knows that. He has to show something, and getting off to a great start with those 2 home runs and, like you said, working the counts. But I'm not going to get too wrapped up in the power explosion in the games he's played, because that first at bat still did happen. Like I'm not all sold on Gary, but he does deserve to be in 3 up here because he's really come in. He's coming in great shape, and he's doing, it seems like, everything they've asked him to do. So he's 1, 2. Got to throw in Kluber. Obviously looks sharp today. We went into that before. And 3, Chris Giddens in the Grand Slam the other night. So he could potentially compete for a spot on the roster, maybe as a 26. You never know. If he continues to produce in spring training, we've seen the Yankees kind of hand out crucial roles to guys in the spring. If not, and he continues to produce still, injuries come around all the time. So maybe you see Chris Giddens on the big league roster at some point.
You're going to get into Gittins a little bit later when we talk about minor leaguers that have stood out, but for definitely he made a good impression on Monday in that late inning situation against a guy in Zach Hess, who actually I covered when I was covering Staten Island a couple years ago with Connecticut. He's got a really good fastball, something to keep an eye on the Tigers organization. Alexis, give me your 3 up for this week.
Sorry about that. My 3 ups, I got to start with Jay Bruce, a new addition to the Yankees this year. 3 for 4 start and has made some great plays in the field as well thus far in his Yankees debut. I thought he's looked really, really strong. And he's a player who I think we can all be excited to watch as this season starts. And then, like James, I got to go Gary Sanchez. Just really impressed with how he started off this spring, especially catching Garrett Cole the other day as well. Strong start there between those two in their relationship as it comes for the season. If maybe going to be that catcher for Cole this year, and if that's going to stick. But really impressed with what we've seen out of him so far this spring. And then too, I gotta go. That third one. Try not to pick the same one. But Tyon. Just again, a really strong start for him in his Yankees debut. I think we can all like what we see out of him as well.
Yeah, Tyon definitely. I thought was pretty good. I'm not surprised that he pitched as well as he did in that first game that he had on Monday. But he obviously the Yankees could take it slow with him and make sure that he gets into the regular season healthy. I think that's the main key for him. So here I'm going to go through. I'm going to try to be a little different. Alexis stole one of mine, so I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to go with Jay Bruce, who's been not only hitting the ball pretty well, had a couple hits on Wednesdays. He's actually looked pretty good in the field too. Had a good play out in left field a couple days ago. Could play some first base. And I think we'll get into this later with the news about now that AAA is being delayed till May and with the alternate site being used. You wonder if those guys on those minor league deals, maybe if there's not an obvious major league option for them, maybe hang around the alternate site, see if there's an injury till May, and maybe they get on the field. But so far, I think Bruce has done a really good job, along with a lot of the other non-roster invitees, guys like Dietrich who hit a homer, guys like Chirinos who hit a homer. Definitely those guys making good impressions. Number 2, I'm gonna go with a broader term here. I'm gonna go with the Yankees bullpen, and we take it from the standpoint again: no Chapman, no Britton, no Green, no O'Day, no Wilson, who's still ramping up after getting into camp late because of the weather issues in Texas. But you look at the bullpen the last couple of days, and you take away maybe Sessa giving up a run on Wednesday, Lyons getting up a run on Tuesday. I think the bullpen actually has done a really good job, and you've had different pitchers from Krisky to Otto to Lane to Loizaga to Bearclough. Nick Nelson was very good on Monday. Cortez had a couple strikeouts. Abreu's showing off near 100 miles an hour with the fastball. You're seeing a lot of the good pitching talent in this Yankees organization, and where, yes, it's spring. Yes, they're playing against some prospects on some occasion, but you're not having the inning where you're giving up 8 runs. You're not having the inning where guys making errors all over the field. So he's going to get the entire bullpen is going to get my number 2 because I think for the most part, they've done a pretty good job. And also I got to shout out Adam Warren in there. In 2 games, I thought he's looked pretty good too, coming back to the Yankees. My third one, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with a guy that maybe I'm going to give some love to Austin Wells. And we'll talk more about him later. Gets in the game on Monday. Gets a base hit after the home run hit by Gittins. So first at bat in Major League Spring Training, and the first round pick gets a hit. Really off to a good start. So props to Austin Wells on that. If I had to give a honorable mention here, I'm going to give it, and I want to get both of your opinions on this. Jordan Montgomery. The line isn't very good. 2 innings, a run, 2 hits, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. But he did a good job limiting the damage. Baltimore was able to at least get off to a good start in that first inning after the Yankees put up a run on the board. And we've talked about this before. Montgomery's going to be that key piece to this team. And considering he had a triple, a sac fly, a walk, and a walk to start the game and still finish the first inning, not a bad performance from Montgomery, considering that a lot of these spring games get stopped in mid-inning sometimes because the pitch counts get high. So what? Any of you want to chime in on Montgomery or any 3 we didn't get into? The bullpen, what are we thinking here?
No, I mean Montgomery. I guess I saw something that they said he would he could be a fourth starter for the team, and I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll see what happens. Apparently, he's coming in very confident, so we'll see.
Well, let me actually get into that. Why wouldn't you feel Montgomery could be a pretty good fourth starter? Because I think he actually had that good start to keep the Yankees alive in the playoffs last year. I don't think you could do worse than Montgomery.
It's not that I don't like it. I don't love it because at the end of the day, your fourth starter is starting a playoff game, and I know he did pitch well in the postseason last postseason, but I'm not sure if he has my trust yet as a postseason starter. I don't know. Because at the end of the day, the best team, if all goes to plan and as hopefully expected, it should be one Cole, two Kluber / Tyon, three whatever, and then four Sevy. So you kind of hoping Sevy gets in there at some point. So I would feel a lot better about the rotation if Luis Severino is healthy and starting playoff games than Jordan Montgomery.
Alexis, what do you think on Montgomery? Because to me, I kind of like the fact that he's not all power with his pitches. Like I like that he's that off speed, throw you off balance kind of guy. Like I think that's going to go well at this rotation. If Severino does come back, he's really your 4/5. What do you think on Montgomery after bouncing back in a rough first inning and going into this year?
Yeah, so far I like what I've seen out of Montgomery. I think he worked on stuff that he needed to improve on during the offseason and came out, he was really excited about his start, saying that he thought he threw his stuff well, admitted to making a couple mistakes that hurt him. But other than that, had a really strong first outing that he said he was excited about. The Yankees were excited about, getting texts from Andy Pettitte and CC Sabathia, that fired him up. Pettitte saying he throws his fastball faster than him, saying that Montgomery threw his fastball faster than Pettitte, so we better get it by guys. Thought that was a nice little joke between the two guys, veteran to rookie, kind of rookie, and Montgomery. But I think he's someone who's excited about the season. I think he knows that he needs to impress this spring to win a spot on the roster, and so far he's doing that.
So I want to remind everybody here at Pinstripe Prospect, providing exclusive minor league content to paid subscribers to our Dugout membership program. You get scouting reports, player interviews, features, and much more, in addition to our free major league coverage. Again, we got the minor league seasons now starting in May for all the affiliates. So you're going to want to get the Dugout membership program for that. My interview with Mickey Gasper is going to go up probably on Friday. So you want to stay tuned for that. You get that with the Dugout membership program as well. You can sign up for either $5.50 a month or $40 a year. And if you want to try us out, see what you like over a 7-day period, you can use our promo code Chasin28pod. That's CHASIN 28pod, and you get your first 7 days free. So give us a shot. Again, use the promo code Chasin28pod to give the Dugout membership program an opportunity. We definitely appreciate those who have already signed up. It really helps support the site a lot. So looking at it for the minor league portion of the show, I think one of the hindrances of the 7-inning performances so far, we're not getting a chance to see a lot of the minor leaguers in action. You may be seeing a bat or two. They come into pinch run like the 4th, 5th inning. And usually in that first few weeks of spring, you're seeing more of the prospects or the minor leaguers about halfway through in a lot of cases. So it's about a bat or two less. That being said, there have been some minor leaguers that have played very well. James, I know you mentioned it, and I'll let you chime in here with Chris Gittens, who had the Grand Slam on Monday. This is a guy I like for his power, one of the best power bats in the organization. Do you think he has a chance at some point to take that bench spot away from Ford, or if they keep Bruce as a first base option? What do you make of Gittens' chances in 2021 to make a big league debut?
I like it because I don't think Ford necessarily has a spot secured in this team. We actually didn't do 3 down, but we forgot the 3 down part.
We'll get to that. We'll get to 3 down
because I forgot, because that kind of tied into it. Because Mike Ford, I don't think has a secure spot in this team. I don't really think he provides much of anything that a Jay Bruce or a Derek Dietrich or even Chris Gittens at this point wouldn't provide. So I could easily see Gittens getting some time in the bigs this year, just as that bat off the bench, especially because the Yankees love power. We all know that. So that would be kind of his ticket to the bigs there.
All right, so let's get to 3 down then before we get back into this. We won't go too in depth into it because again, it's tough to go in depth on the too much into the down stuff. But James, since you mentioned Forteray, I'll let you continue on with that.
It was Ford for the reasons. Just like I don't see what he provides this team that Jay Bruce doesn't. He doesn't have the experience of Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce, you'd rather the bat in his hands in the postseason than I think Mike Ford. Unless he, I guess, exploded onto the scene in spring, which he has yet to do. So that's why he was 1-2. Is Andahar still hasn't really done what he needs to do to get back into that crucial role for this team. And third was Mike King, arguably competing for that fifth spot. He just kind of threw a dud out there in the first game of the spring.
I thought about King, and King might end up being in mine just because it's tough to come up with a name. I thought King did okay. I was actually surprised that his fastball was as quick as it was. I mean, the fact that King's added a couple miles an hour to the fastball, I thought was huge.
What was he up to?
I think I saw him touch 95, 96.
Huh.
So, I mean, it was there. Maybe he's got to just go back to mixing that in with the off speed a little bit. But from a peripheral standpoint, I thought King kind of got hit by a lot of bad luck and had a double down the line that kind of wrecked the line a little bit. He's got to cut down on the walks. I think that's a big issue still. He had a couple walks, which brought the pitch count up. He was at 42 pitches in 2 innings. But all in all, I thought it was okay. But considering it's a high standard this week, I understand you're putting him on the list. Alexis, what do you think? What's your quickly your 3 down?
I think for my 3 down this week, I think needs to impress this spring that hasn't quite done that. Going to be Tyler Wade. Hasn't gotten a hit yet this spring. You have to wonder if he even has a shot at a spot on the roster. Yes, he's got speed on the base pads once he can finally get onto base. But he's a guy who has not, unfortunately, done much thus far this season. 0 for 3 to start. I think he needs to kind of bring up his numbers. If you have early, we can't really make too many crazy predictions at this point. But Giancarlo, again, a guy who, Eric Cressy talked about how he changed his off-season routine to try to get better at the plate and get better in the field. And so far, I don't think we've seen too much out of Stanton at the plate. And we would like to see a little bit more out of him. So for me, Giancarlo, Tyler Wade, and then I got to go Hoy Jun Park, a young minor leaguer who has got some great talent. But is a guy I really hope to see some decent stuff out of this spring, a guy who has a chance to potentially start at the AAA level this year. But again, needs to impress, needs to prove himself. So for me, I hope he can kind of turn things around.
For me, when I look at the 3 down, I'm going to take a look at a couple of guys. My number 3 would be King. And again, it's not fair to him. I understand that. I think in most weeks, his outing would not have been on here. But he had, I think, by line, the toughest appearance from any Yankee this week. So he's on the list. But again, I thought he had some good performances mixed into that 2 innings. It just took a lot of pitches. And you can't have 42 pitches in your first 2 innings in spring training. I mean, I was shocked Boone kept him in there as long as he did, but he makes it here. Number 2, the guy who followed him. I mean, I think it's been a bad week for Yankees' 5th starter spots, and we'll see with Davey Garcia Thursday and Domingo Germán Friday if that continues. But Asher Wojciechowski, or however you say his last name, Wojciechowski, 1 inning, 1 run, 3 hits, struck out 2. Not exactly a great performance out of him. 16 of 26 pitches for strikes, not a great number there. And my 3rd down here, I'm going to go with Yuli Chasin. I think that ball from that Wilson Ramos hit off of him is still flying. We talk about Gary Sanchez hitting it over the batter's eye in that game. Wilson Ramos hit it off the batter's eye in dead center. Chasin also had a couple of walks mixed in too. So if you were a Yankee competing for the 5th starter spot, it was not your week this week. But 1 start in. I don't think it makes a huge deal, but if we're looking to make a first impression, King probably did out of the 3, but all in all, I think they could have did a little bit better. So let's get back to the minor leaguers real quick. Alexis, was there any minor league players that you thought made an impression this week? I know you just mentioned Park for the down, but is there anybody else that caught your eye this week?
I think, like James said, Chris Gittens, who's looking to get a spot on the roster this year. I thought he looked good. Austin Wells, like you said, I thought he's impressed so far. I think that's the guy who really stands out for me as having a really good spring thus far through a few games is Austin Wells and the way he's handled himself early on.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, especially coming off of the hit, like I mentioned earlier, for a first-round pick to come right into camp and not having played a minor league game. He has done a really good job, I think, handling all the pressure, if there is any pressure. Really, I don't think there's that much because he's not going to be on the big league roster beginning of the year, but off to a good performance. I'm going to go to a couple of different directions. I think Aaron Boone has said a lot of good things about Oswald Peraza this week. I know he hasn't been able to exactly shine in the games he's appeared in, but he's getting a lot of appearances after Gleyber Torres in games at short. So I think that's a good sign. You're seeing a lot of him early. Maybe he'll break out and have a couple of good spring games eventually. But I'm also going to look to the end of Tuesday's game. Glenn Otto with a 1-2-3 sixth inning struck out a batter in that ball game. I think he talked about it when a listener questioned a couple weeks ago. It'd be interesting to see what role Glenn Otto is in this season, whether if he stays healthy as a starter or a reliever. But Trevor Lane's another guy who was warming up for King on Sunday, did not get in, comes in the seventh, and strikes out 3 while walking the batter. And Lane is a guy who's left-handed. So the Yankees don't have a lot of left-handed arms, at least in terms of prospects to keep an eye on. But this is a player I think could at some point make his big league debut. He's a guy who has been an all-star in this organization before, was a South Atlantic League all-star in 2017, and a Florida State all-star in 2018, an Eastern League star for Trenton in 2019. In his 2019 season, he had a 2.05 ERA, struck out 74, walked 26 over the course of 74 and 2/3 innings, but a strikeout per inning. And opponent's batting average in between 3 affiliates in 2019 was a $170. So very good numbers from Lane. Be interested to see what his path is for the Yankees. 10th round pick in 2016. But I thought, again, I threw in the bullpen guys earlier. Otto and Lane were definitely on that list. They did a good job in Sarasota shutting down the Orioles on Tuesday. So we're going to get into the latest minor league news. And we'll start. I know, Lindsay, you texted us this a little while ago. Lindsay Adler from The Athletic had this report about some of the information the Yankees minor leaguers were given for what their seasons might look like. So why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, no, funny. I think you just called me Lindsay there, but yeah, it's all joking. Yeah, Lindsay Adler of The Athletic posted earlier today, Yankees minor leaguers were given that information on what their season might look like. Again, as we all just found out yesterday, AAA season to begin now, May 4th, opposed to in April, serving as the alternate site. Currently, for the month of April, there's speculation that could last longer depending on how quickly players can get tested. It'll have a 28-man roster and stricter protocols in lower-level affiliates just because that is the only place you can join an MLB affiliate from is going to be from that alternate site. So COVID protocols are going to be stricter. The rules there are going to be stricter. And then by affiliate sizes, you have AAA at 28 players on the roster. AA is going to have 28, high A 30, low A 30. Some of these expanded sizes aim to decrease player travel, as Lindsay reported. And then, as our own Robert Pimsner said, the Class A roster shrunk by 5 players each, which I believe was to allow those upper levels to have a few extra players on their rosters and to also allow for the alternate site to have players there as well. Again, a move I think we all kind of saw expected, but I guess maybe keeps you wondering now, are we going to see a normal minor league season at all? Could we see these alternate sites lasting longer than the plan is currently, and does AAA get delayed even longer?
Yeah, I think that's a really big question mark because off the news that Jeff Passan had on Tuesday, and we were all getting ready. We're about a month away from AAA opening day, and now that is pushed to the back burner at least till May 4th. I think Scranton Wilkes-Barre is on the road May 4th, so their home opener, I believe, is May 11th as of right now. But Alexis, you also wrote an article on this for us at Pinstripe Prospects. Big news, especially, but you kind of get it because I think the baseball wants to try to get as many vaccinations as they can, and considering how the government is trying to speed up the getting as many doses of vaccines and Johnson & Johnson information and all of that's coming in, it's great news. Definitely a good sign, but also kind of a bummer, I think, for players who are preparing to play in April. Now I might have to go to the alternate site until early May.
Yeah, and I think makes you wonder, those players who don't make the alternate site, now what are they doing? Are they staying at the spring training site, or so are all these players staying in Tampa who aren't going to Scranton? I think that's something that has to be questioned now.
I think from what I saw from what I saw what Jeff Passan said, I think it's AAA team, your veterans, like your guys that you might make the AAA team essentially would be at the alternate site, and everybody else would be at minor league spring training because that would open back up for everybody else.
Yeah, and that's what would make sense, I think, is if we see those AA single A guys staying in Tampa, the guys who maybe aren't going to have a shot at making AAA right off the bat. Because ultimately, as MLB stated, that's where these guys are going to be able to be pulled from to the major league team, is going to be from the alternate side alone. And you were talking about Scranton earlier in their statement yesterday. Their season's now slated to begin May 4th. They'll open on the road at Syracuse and play their home opener at PNC Field on May 11th against Lehigh Valley. Again, stating that PNC Field will serve as the Yankees' alternate site until the AAA season begins. Which, again, kind of makes you wonder, how long is this going to last? I mean, I think it's a great thing. We're seeing more vaccinations happening. We're seeing things opening up more. And just these vaccines becoming more widespread, I think, is a hopeful sign for Major League Baseball and for the players. But same token, these players have to wonder now that this alternate site has been announced, what do our seasons really look like? These AA single A guys are probably wondering now, is our spring training going to get delayed even more? Is our season now going to get delayed?
And James, looking at this for the Yankees, it's something we touched on earlier. If you're Jay Bruce and if you're Derek Dietrich, and unless you have a major league offer, and I think Jay Bruce mentioned his opt-out is late March, from what I remember, it seems as though those players are going to have a choice. Either go to the alternate site and have a chance to get called up, or if you have another major league opportunity, you can go. But does this benefit if Bruce and Dietrich, and even if Chirinos has a good spring, maybe hang around the organization and may get the opportunity if an injury happens in the first month?
Yeah, I don't see Jay Bruce going to the alternate site. I do think someone will take a chance on him elsewhere, but it does. I can see where the effect is and where the impact is. So it'll be interesting to see what these guys do. But I do truly believe that Jay Bruce will make this team, especially if he continues to hit the way he is. Because I'll keep going back to it. There's nothing that Jay Bruce, Mike Ford offers you that Jay Bruce doesn't, and Jay Bruce offers you more, in my opinion. And we'll see what happens with Dietrich. And at the end of the day, I don't know. Dietrich is could he be technically the backup second baseman? I don't know. We'll see what they do with Tyler Wade. I don't know if Wade and Ford are both on the hot seat in that sense, but we'll see what they do, man. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
So before we wrap up the show, I want to get into what we might be watching this week. I could start off for this, and for me, it's what I talked about earlier. I think it's that race for the fifth starter spot. And you got Davy Garcia going on Thursday against the Phillies. You got Domingo Germán going Friday against the Tigers. Can any of those guys get off to a good start after we've seen King kind of have his struggles, Chasin have his struggles, while Jasowski have his troubles? Or does that open the door? One of the guys we didn't mention, I think, in the ups is Nick Nelson, who looked really good, too. I mean, he might have put himself in a good position to maybe get an opener or spot start or something down the line. He looked pretty good. But who takes that next step? And Garcia, I think, is going to have a spotlight in Clearwater. We'll see what he does. And to me, it's when do the guys the Chapmans and the Britons and O'Days, when you see them, hopefully you see them you'll probably see them at some point this week, maybe this weekend or something like that, getting a chance to see them. So my eyes more on the fifth starter spot and the bullpen this week. James, what about you? What are you looking forward to seeing this week?
I guess Herman, like you mentioned, I would like to see how he kind of responds to all of this. Although I don't expect him to be on this team, but I just want to see how he responds to it on the field. He's going through a lot of controversy off the field, rightfully so. And we'll see what happens with him. He's kind of the thing that I'm looking at the closest.
Alexis, what about you? What are you keeping an eye on in Yankees baseball this week?
I think for me, someone we talked about getting a start here this week, Davy Garcia. I think it's going to be interesting to see what he does. Again, a guy who I think needs to impress this week if he wants to earn a spot on the Major League roster. Interested to see what he does.
So with that being said, it is time for the trivia of the week. And boy, do we have a good trivia question this week. Like I mentioned, we're doing something a little bit different this week. It's not going to be a straight answer. I got a list of answers. James and Alexis are going to take turns giving answers until one of them gets it wrong. And we'll have some fun with this. I don't think it's that hard. I went recent here. It's a spring training question. We have Yankee players with 10 or more RBIs in spring training since 2014.
Huh.
Now, there is a total of 13 players on this list.
What was that stat again?
It is Yankees players with 10 or more RBIs in a spring training season since 2014. So it doesn't have to have. It's basically if he had 10 or more in that year, it counts. It's not total amounts different spring trainings.
Okay.
13 players on the list.
I don't think this is that difficult, but I mean I don't think I'll get all 13, but I think I'll get a good majority.
All right. Well, you don't have to get all. You're gonna basically take turns giving names. So
okay,
we're gonna do it that way. So whoever wants to go first, and then the other one can follow. We'll go that way.
Yeah, I'll shout one out easy. Miguel Andujar.
All right, Andujar's one. Alexis.
Aaron Judge.
Correct. James.
Gio Urshela.
Wow, we are out already.
No. Oh my God, I thought he had a great spring.
No. Okay. How about we'll do one strike because it ended really early.
Oh yeah, we'll do one strike. So I guess Gary. Is Gary on?
Gary is on there. Good.
Okay.
Oh God, I changed mine. Who was that I was gonna say? See, I start mind blanking. Gleyber?
Gleyber is on there, yes.
Huh. Since 2014?
Since 2014.
Is A-Rod on one of them?
Nope.
Oh, well, I don't know. I guess.
All right, Alexis. Since James already got.
You keep going, Alexis. I'm screwing you.
Let's see how many you can get before you get a strike here.
Oh gosh. Luke Voit.
Luke Voit is on there. Yes.
I'm forgetting. I just forgot so many obvious ones. It's crazy.
Aaron Hicks.
Aaron Hicks is not on there. No.
Yeah. Ooh.
Do you want? Since I gave James two strikes, I'll give you to yet another one wrong, and we'll run down the list.
Giancarlo.
Giancarlo's on there. Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And A-Rod was not. You said Miguel Andujar, right? We said he was
on there.
There.
Yeah.
Yes, Andujar's been said.
Okay. That one is out. I'm trying to think of who all we have. Who we've had on the rosters. Maybe out on a whim, DJ LeMahieu.
DJ LeMahieu is not on the list.
Oof.
All right. So here is the full list of players. Some obvious, some not. You said Aaron Judge. You said Luke Voit. None of you said Greg Bird.
Oh, my God.
I would not have guessed Greg Bird.
The great spring training in September 2015, Greg Bird. Not said on this here. Gleyber Torres was said. Didi was not said.
Huh.
Didi. Sorry for my band.
Former Yankee prospect traded in a couple of times, Billy McKinney.
Would have never got that.
Yeah, no, but I don't think anybody would have got McKinney. And Duhar was said, Sanchez was said, Stanton was said. Here's the four that you probably all were going to be like, oh, yeah, that guy. Matt Holliday did it once. They get 11 from what I don't have the full list in front of me. He did have double digit. Ronald Torreyes.
Huh. That was my guy.
Guy who couldn't even make the Twins roster.
Only makes the rosters when Joe Girardi's the manager, but good guy nonetheless. Starlin Castro.
Ooh.
Huh.
And a real throwback, because there's a couple of different different of this name in baseball. Chris Young.
Yeah.
Former center fielder Chris Young. I liked when Chris Young was here, actually. It had a good couple of months. I think it was like 2013 or 20.
Every time I went to Houston, he crushed them.
So that's your 13 players that have had 10 or more RBIs in a given spring training since 2014. All in all, not bad by both of you. There were one or two I was like, okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot of overthinking done here.
No, there was a ton of overthinking. Because instead of getting the easy ones first, I was like, let me go for the hard ones, which made no sense.
I've seen this game play, and I think SNY plays like a version of this kind of game, or rapid fire or something like that. And they do that all the time. Like, you yelling at the screen like, you can't, but I get it. You're on the spot. It's tough to think of it. You did get most of them. Most of the ones that you should have got, you did get. So I will say good job by both of you. And I also appreciated Alexis with the yes in the background. She's very enthused for this game. So I'm very. I
liked this game. It was fun.
Yeah.
And I liked that I beat James on it. Kind of, sort of.
So we'll see what's in. Oh, go ahead.
I said I'm gonna get a little competitive in these things. So hey.
So we will see what's in store next week. If any of the panel wants to come up with a similar type of question, or Alexis wants to go back to 1935 again, I mean, we'll go with that.
You did not give rules that week. All right? You're still bitter, and you did not give rules.
I am very look. I'm very bitter with these things sometimes because I get shocked by it. I can admit it at least. I'm glad to say that. So with that being said, let's get into final thoughts for this week. It can be about anything you want. I'll probably let Alexis start off first this week. Alexis, what do you think?
Oh gosh, final thoughts this week. Not too much happening in the sports world. I guess just have to shout out the players in the PGA this past weekend for giving Tiger love on Sunday and everybody wearing the color red, and I may have just taken one of your twos. But yeah, I have to give shout out to that, and then NFL announcing their combine invitees this week. Going to be an exciting time. Exciting to see who the Jags have their eyes on this coming up in the combine ahead of April and the draft.
James, what about you?
I'm gonna go with the Knicks, I guess. Again, even they were, I guess, the other night they were fourth in the Eastern Conference. Julius Randle's an All-Star. RJ Barrett's in the Rising Star game. Obi Toppin's in the slam dunk contest. Emmanuel quickly didn't make the Rising Star roster, but that's a debate for another day. But overall, it's been incredible to watch the Knicks again. It's not that I wasn't watching them previously. It's just more so I'm now watching them and rooting for them to win as opposed to watching them and rooting for them to lose, which is very nice. It's fun rooting for my basketball team again, and it's been a joy to watch, man.
All right, so I'll throw one baseball, one non-baseball out there. I thought it was cool to see Fernando Tatis do a bat flip grand slam in spring training. I mean, we need something different in these games, so I actually did appreciate that. So Fernando Tatis continuing to be the face of the sport, in my opinion at least. The weirdness of the 7-inning game still does not get past me because you had in Wednesday night's Yankee game, they're playing New York, after the Blue Jays get out in the top of the 7th, and then they decide, let's finish the inning out. And I guess it's only fitting that Robinson Trinos hits a home run in the bottom of the 7th, so the Blue Jays lose 4-1, not 3-1. I don't know. I'm getting used to the teams just picking and choosing their rules. I'm waiting for the inevitable 5-inning game. I think we saw a 6-inning game in Tampa Bay or a couple of places. It's still weird, but it's spring training. We tend to enjoy it. The non-baseball thing this week, I'm going to go to Russell Wilson here. And I talked about on Kick It McKeeler this week. It's different from Deshaun Watson to me. Watson wanted to talk about GM and coach input. It's a little bit different, and he was promised that and never got it. Russell Wilson's out there, according to the article in The Athletic, which is really good. You got to check it out. Complaining about play calling, saying he doesn't want to trade, but if he does get traded, he wants to go to these teams. Complaining about how the Seahawks went to Josh Allen's pro day reportedly. To me, he sounds like he's doing a lot of complaining. And it sounds like a guy that it doesn't want to be is trying to complain without being the villain. And you don't get to do both. You don't. You're either the villain or you're not. And he kind of comes off bad saying, I don't want out, but if I want out, I'd want to go here. Either you're out or you're not out. Like, what do you want? That's really what baffles my mind there. And I don't know if Sierra got in his head a little bit. I really don't know. But for a guy that wants to throw 40 times, but then you throw 40 times and then he throws a couple interceptions and then gets mad about it that you're blaming him, I don't know. It made me look at Russell Wilson a little bit differently this week. And I'm a big fan of his, but that was something that I know we're in the age of player empowerment, and I get that, and I respect that. Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson are two totally different things. We haven't even heard anything from Deshaun Watson. We've heard Russell Wilson. The only thing I give him is the Seahawks had a bad offensive line. That's it. So that was my thoughts here. More than I kick with Keeler every weekend on Full Press Radio. So let's wrap it up here. Great stuff on the show as always this week. Want to remind everybody you can follow us on Twitter at Pinstripe Pros, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Again, it's under Pinstripe Prospects, but it's Chasin 28. Feel free to give us a like, give us a rating. We hope it's 5 stars, but if you want to share your input, what you like, what you don't like, any questions for the show, any comments, Keeler at pinstripeprospects.com. That's where you can find me. Remember, sign up for our Dugout membership program, $5.50 a month, $5.50 a month, $40 a year. Use the promo code Chasin28pod, get your first 7 days free. My article at Mickey Gasper will be up on Friday. Really good article about a Yankees catcher that has tried to balance both catching and hitting. Gives some good insight, and you'll learn a little bit of advanced tool that is used to track how a player does at the plate. Mickey taught me a little bit about that. So I'm excited for that, and I thank Mickey for taking the time. It was a lot of fun. So, Alexis, how can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at Alexis Farinacci.
And James, how can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at O'Connell NY.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Rickinator555. Again, check out Kicking with Keeler every week on Full Press Radio, my work over at Barrett Sports Media. So from all us here at Pinstripe Prospects, also want to shout out to Matt Jarrell and Alex Keeler, who are taking part. We're doing these spring training takeaways. You'll get mine on Thursday morning of the Blue Jays game, and I have the Phillies game Thursday, so you'll see that sometime Thursday evening or Friday morning. We try to give our different, it's not a recap, but we try to talk about what stood out to us about each spring training game. We're trying to get a major and minor league element into it, but we haven't had many minor league players make that much of an impact yet. But hopefully as the month of March goes on, Alexis is a part of this as well. You'll read one of hers this week. So shout out to both those writers, Matt and Alex, doing some good things for us. From all of us here at Pinstripe Prospects, for Rob, Matt, Carlos, the entire team, I'm Ricky Keeler saying have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the Yankees baseball, and we'll see you back here next week to talk about it. And I believe will be episode 15, so it'll be a mini milestone for us here. We look forward to talking to you then.
Later.
Have a great night.